Good evening, families, friends, teachers, and most importantly, the Masuk graduating class of 2014. I'm Alison Forger, and I'm honored to speak to you all today as co-valedictorian and president of our class. As a part of my last journalism story for the Masuk Free Press, I read about a study which proved that humans are generally happier on days when they have positive interactions with both people who they are close to and those who are complete strangers. Maybe it's just that the friendliness erases doubts we may have had about the kindness of other people. Maybe it's the realization that this stranger has provided us with a bit of insight from a perspective that we haven't thought of before. With this philosophy in mind, and the daunting task of a graduation speech, I realized what I needed to do. Many of us have lived in Monroe for our entire lives. In a town with a population of roughly 19,000, each one of us has likely laid eyes on about half of these people, interacted with even fewer, and conversed with a frighteningly smaller number. That leaves an enormous pool of strangers in our very hometown, whose voices we have never heard, whose insights we have never obtained, and whose wisdom we have never appreciated. On a beautiful Saturday, I picked up my friend Dana, and we drove around town to see if we could gather what wisdom these hometown strangers could offer to us. Over the course of the day, I heard everything from don't drink, don't smoke, and don't swear, take a bath every day and have fun, from the old man buying paint at Stepney Hardware, to always listen to your gut, from the bald man holding his little girl's hand in the fruit aisle at Big Y, to it's about the journey, not the destination, from the woman at Wolf Park who actually approached us because she heard we were asking strangers for advice and wanted to share. Also at Wolf Park, an elderly man watching his granddaughters on the playground grinned as I approached him and asked for his greatest piece of advice. "Don't be afraid to talk to people," he said wisely. Next year, wherever any of us are, a simple hello could introduce us to a person who may be a friend for the rest of our lives. Don't let these opportunities go to waste. A second mustached man at Stepney Hardware was not quite as supportive of my efforts. "Don't talk to strangers," he said. I didn't really listen to that one. From the woman in the leather boots and bandana outside of Bill's Drive-In, sitting with her husband on their Harley Davidson, we can learn a lesson about passion. She said, "Go to college and try to study something that you'll love to do afterward." Most of us are going into whatever lies ahead with at least one distinct fear. What do I want to do with my life? Whatever we end up doing, the work we produce will get its value from the passion we pour into it. If you don't love it, it will never be good enough. From the older woman in the red and white floppy hat at a tag sale off of Cutler's Farm, we can take away a message about identity. She said, "It's important to get to know yourself before making huge decisions about your future." She added, "Buy a car, have your own apartment, travel a bit. Get to know you first." In our lives, we will be pushed and pulled in 100 different directions by teachers, friends, family. It is important to understand ourselves before deciding which pressures to yield to and which to resist. It's just like the guy at the pet store said, once you've mastered yourself, you've basically mastered the world. From the man behind the counter at the Monroe Diner, the guy who makes the glorious chocolate milkshakes, comes a lesson in novelty. He said, "Diversify yourself." Kind of fitting coming from the man who hands you a pages-long menu when you sit down for lunch, right? We are entering the part of our lives when we have opportunities to be a part of things that we may have never dreamed of trying. Try out for an a cappella group, walk onto the crew team with no experience, and hey, maybe try that dish on the diner menu that you can't even pronounce. Odds are, you probably won't regret it. From the tiny little boy in a Superman t-shirt in the park sandbox, a lesson in simplicity. When his dad asked him what a person had to do to get a good job, Superman said, "Write your name." I mean, he isn't wrong. Linda from Linda's Storytime remarked about confidence. She said, "You do what you do best. Differentiate yourself from your competition." Each skill that we have, each talent that we are proud of, these are the things that will take us where we need to be in life. While often brilliant, always insightful, and sometimes surprising, the words of strangers are not the only words of importance. From family, we take some of the most powerful lessons we will ever learn. My mom's expression that whenever something bad happens, something good will come, which I have held on to desperately in times of stress and weeks of AP exams. My dad's constant reminder that you can't burn a candle at both ends, which I patently ignored throughout my high school career. and my Uncle Glenn's simple avowal that all people really need to do in this world is be excellent to each other, a motto that I hope I have emulated these past 4 years. Next year, as we leave Masuk High School, so many of us will find ourselves in places where virtually everyone is a stranger. We aren't going to have an animated and sometimes sassy secretary to chat with in the morning, or a teacher who has known us and watched us grow from our bumbling freshman selves into decidedly less awkward seniors, or a smiling security guard to tell us to stay safe before we drive away at the end of each day. What we will have, however, is a sea of new people, each with the potential to become your best man, your maid of honor, the bizarre friend who you'll tell your grandkids about someday. But we will also still have a community of people here in Monroe who are willing to share their wisdom. A group of friends from Masuk who we stay in touch with and with whom we share so many experiences. And a family who not only shares our DNA, but knows our dreams and will be there time and time again to help us achieve them. May these next 4 years be filled with opportunities for every one of us to gain bits of wisdom of our own. Pieces of wisdom that will allow us to pay it forward to future graduating seniors, to our families, to complete strangers, or to anybody else who needs a bit of advice. Congratulations, Masuk High School class of 2014. We did it.